Dahmer works for a chocolate factory. He is a single man living alone in his apartment. Dahmer went to a supermarket that afternoon and met a young Asian man who was looking at shoes on a shelf. Dahmer approached the man and offered to buy him a shoe, but the man declined because he thought it was too strange for someone new to do.
We've gotten to a point where doing nice things for people is considered insane.
Dahmer finally admitted that he had expected something from the man.
I do want something from you. I want to buy you those shoes. Then in return, I'd like to take some pictures of you.
Yes, Dahmer stated that he only wanted to photograph the man. Dahmer then invited the man to his apartment, where he served him a glass of drink laced with drugs in order to render the man unconscious. He then took several shots of him and offered him to undress in order for them to pose together in several photos. Until Dahmer decided to embroider the unconscious man's head and led him into a room. Until the next night, when the man awoke from a fainting fit, he saw a black man who was unconscious next to him. On the street, two women saw the man walking in a limp state. He asked the two women for help to take him home. Until Dahmer, who had just returned from the food store, saw that the man was already surrounded by two police officers who had received reports from the two women earlier. Dahmer had argued with the two women, but he was eventually able to return the man to his apartment. Dahmer admitted to the police that the man was an old friend. He showed the police several photos taken with him, and the police eventually left. After the cops left, Dahmer choked the man's neck until he nearly died. Dahmer did this because he was irritated that the police were nearly catching him. Dahmer's grandmother called him to come to her house to help her drive away the crows that had entered his grandma's house. After Dahmer caught the crow, he imagined while arguing with his father about a mannequin. Dahmer's grandmother told his father that he had hidden a stolen mannequin in a cupboard. He refused to confess, but he eventually told his father about the mannequin. Before they left for church, Dahmer's father instructed him to return the mannequin to the shop where he had stole it. When Dahmer's father took the mannequin from the cupboard, he noticed a secret box that belonged to him. He asked Dahmer to open the box, but he refused because he didn't want his grandmother to know about it. Dahmer promised to open the box for his father, but he wanted his father to go downstairs by inviting his grandmother to do so. Dahmer then moved the contents of the box, which turned out to be a dead human head, into the wardrobe. And when his father entered the room, Dahmer pretended to show him that what was in the box was a pornographic magazine. Returning to the previous scene, Dahmer followed the man into the room after choking him. Dahmer went for a walk, and on the way, he saw a black man working in the shop, so he entered and pretended to ask for a knife that was in the window. Dahmer was interested in the man, so he invited the man to talk, and in the end, Dahmer persuaded the man to come to his apartment. Dahmer and the man came to a halt in front of a gay club. The man went inside, but Dahmer remained outside. While waiting, we were shown a scene in which Dahmer was dressed neatly and entered the gay club, where he drank a lot and had sexual relations with men in the club. It was said that Dahmer would come to the club every day and do the same thing: order drinks, put drugs in the drinks, and give the drinks to men who made him want to have sexual relations. Dahmer was eventually kicked out of the club after a bartender noticed him putting drugs in a drink. To cut a long story short, Dahmer and the man showed up at his apartment. Dahmer, as usual, gave the man a drink laced with medicine, and they talked all night. A scene in the middle of the conversation shows Dahmer driving and offering a man walking on foot marijuana to snort. Yes, he is interested in this man. He took the man to his house. They talked and played some games. Then he showed interest in the man. But the man objected and asked Dahmer to take him home. He refused, but the man still wanted to go. Then Dahmer pulled the man. The man was angry and left the room. He followed him to the middle of the hall. He struck him in the head from behind, knocking him unconscious. Dahmer realized the man was lifeless and mutilated his corpse before wrapping it in plastic and throwing it away from the house. He cried and regretted his actions until he returned home. Back to the previous scene, it can be seen in this scene that the black man was very drunk and bored. He wanted to go home, and he asked Dahmer to open the handcuffs in his hands. Yes, Dahmer had handcuffed the man for fun before. But he said no, and the black man became enraged and stormed out the door. He pulled the man to the couch, and the black man became enraged, but Dahmer remained silent. The man walked out and slammed the door. After the men left, Dahmer went into his room and began playing with the Asian man he met at the supermarket, but the black man suddenly knocked on Dahmer's apartment door, and Dahmer opened it. The man stated that he admired Dahmer and wished to have sex with him. The man then began seducing Dahmer through body language. Dahmer approached him and slowly strangled him with a belt, almost killing him. He became enraged and beat Dahmer for attempting to murder him. He then returned and slammed the door violently. He threw rocks through Dahmer's bedroom window and yelled at him from outside. Dahmer paid no attention. Dahmer started fucking the Asian man's corpse, then went insane and cut open his stomach and put his hand into the man's stomach. Dahmer did it with zeal. Dahmer, who was still sleeping on the sofa at the end of the story, was awakened by his father. Yes, Dahmer dozed off after feeling remorse for killing a man he met on the street. Dahmer's father intends to take him to a psychiatrist to assist him in dealing with his mental illness.